I took one of Paula Deen's most famous recipes and made it low carb. Today we're taking the Goddess of Butter's coveted peach cobbler recipe and making it keto while still using peaches. I bet you're wondering how this is going to end up being 3 grams of carbs per serving while using peaches, since peaches have around 15 carbs each. It's not that peaches are full of fiber and that I'm actually subtracting the fiber, because there's not a lot of fiber in a peach. But I'm going to explain this voodoo magic as we go along. It all starts with peaches. We aren't using millions of peaches because, unlike the song says, they're not for free. And we're not going to be using 4 like Paula's recipe calls for. I'm only using 2 peaches because you can still get some of that natural peach flavor without having to add a lot of peaches. Plus, I'm going to add something to enhance that peach flavor that I'm going to show you in just a bit. After I peel and slice the peaches, add them to a saucepan along with a half a cup of water and a 1/4 cup of sugar-free sweetener. This is another way that we cut down on the sugar and carbs in this recipe. Paula is using real sugar and she adds a whole cup of it too. I find that we actually don't need that much to make it a perfectly sweet peach syrup. After I bring this to a boil and let it simmer for 10 minutes, I remove it from the heat and set it aside. Since we are cutting the number of peaches in half in this recipe, I did want to enhance that peach flavor, so I'm going to add in a 1/2 teaspoon of peach flavoring. I'll have this listed down below on where I got it, but honestly, I think that you could even omit this because it's still delicious, and then that way you don't have to buy an extra ingredient that you might not use later on. But it really does enhance the flavor. Before we move on to the cobbler, let's talk about some other fruit flavors that I have been enjoying. It's the flavors that my favorite electrolyte company, Element Electrolytes, comes in. They have a wide range of flavors from raspberry and watermelon and chocolate, but my absolute favorite flavors are grapefruit, citrus, and orange. I just realized that these are all citrus flavors too. Not only do I get to enjoy a refreshing fruit-flavored beverage that is going to hydrate me, but it's also going to give me all the necessary electrolytes I need to keep going. Because each packet of Element has a science-backed formula of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. Lately, I've been adding a pack of Element to my water every morning just to make sure that I'm on my peak performance throughout the day. Right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any Element order. You get to try 8 flavors free with any Element order. So it's a great way to figure out what flavors you like before you buy them. To get yours, go to drinkelement.com/ketofocus. They even have sparkling flavors, and I highly recommend the grapefruit or the black cherry lime. Just go to drinkelement.com/ketofocus to get yours. Now that we discussed that, let's get back to the cobbler. Paula uses self-rising flour. We don't have a keto self-rising flour available in a package, so we're just going to have to add those ingredients separately to this recipe. And they're going to have to be low carb too. You want 1 1/4 cups of almond flour, then 3/4 cup of sugar-free sweetener. Paula adds a cup of sugar here. Again, not necessary. The cobbler is just going to be perfectly sweet with 3/4 cup of sweetener. Then 3 tablespoons of oat fiber. And I know this ingredient is odd, but I use it a lot in my keto baking because it enhances the texture and the flavor of our baked goods. And it does it without adding any additional carbs because it's 100% fiber, which means it's 0 net carbs. Then an ingredient to help our cobbler rise, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of egg white protein powder, then 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum, and a teaspoon of baking powder. Stir that together until it's combined, and then we're going to set that aside. Next comes Paula's favorite food, butter. Add 1 stick, which is equivalent to 1/2 cup, of salted butter to a rectangle baking dish, and put the dish in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit to melt. Once it's melted, we can move on to finishing up that cobbler. Pour in 1 cup of nut milk, and I'm using a flaxseed protein milk. It has only 1/2 carb per cup, but you can use any sort of nut milk that you want. Paula uses regular milk, which actually adds around 11 carbs. I mix that together with the dry ingredients until it's just combined, and then immediately scoop the dough on top of the dish with the melted butter. Don't mix this in here, just try and spread the dough evenly from edge to edge. It's okay if it's not perfect. I tested this 4 times, and even though it wasn't perfectly spread from edge to edge, it still tasted really good and looked delicious. And you do want to make sure that you add your batter right away, because the longer the batter sits, the more it's going to absorb moisture and it's going to be harder to scoop into the buttered dish. Finally, top with our peaches and syrup. Start by scattering the peaches on top and then pour in any remaining syrup next. Then I'm going to bake this in a 350-degree oven for 45 minutes, and this is what it looks like. Pretty comparable to Paula's. Top with your favorite keto or low carb ice cream, dust on some cinnamon, and dig in. And for the perfect keto vanilla ice cream that only uses 5 ingredients, click right here.